everyone, I'm Kevin Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from the Vatican. An international conference is taking place at the Vatican to celebrate the 3rd anniversary of Pope Francis's Encyclical Laudato Si. The conference, entitled Saving Our Common Home and the Future of Life on Earth, takes place in the new Synod Hall July 5th and 6th.
3 years ago, the Pope published his encyclical Laudato Si to include each person in the care of the environment. Although many steps have been taken, it's still not enough. For this reason, the Vatican will hold this meeting, which will show the planet's critical situation and how to act before it's too late. The Pope asks a rhetorical question. What world do we want to give to those who come after us, to children, to teenagers? He challenges us to change course because he's convinced that things can change. The point is to remember that the environmental crisis is already taking its toll. Children, women, and minorities are paying the consequences in areas such as food, health, and immigration.
There was a priest from the Solomon Islands, and he told me, Father, we just lost our church, we lost our cemetery. We had to literally, transfer the bones of our ancestors. So these people are already facing the impact.
We want there to be a joint effort between normal people and also experts who work on the issues of climate change, forestry issues, the economy, how to fight poverty, because that will give a richness to the dialogue. Laudato Si is the first encyclical directed not only to people of goodwill, but to every inhabitant on the planet. This is everyone's problem, so we need everyone's participation. The conference unites world experts to demonstrate positive experiences that are already bearing good results and that are easily imitated. In our dicastery, we no longer use plastic materials. We'll send some suggestions to the Secretary of State and the Vatican government with ideas and concrete measures such as these to respond to the current demands. The conference will be held in the Vatican between July 5th and 6th, and the Pope plans to meet with them on Friday.
The meetings will be attended by representatives of the Vatican and Catholic institutions, as well as indigenous peoples, Greenpeace, and the United Nations. In news from around the country, a delegation of bishops from around the country visited the Brownsville, McAllen area of Texas over the weekend. Bishop Daniel Flores of Brownsville welcomed the delegation led by the president of the USCCB, Cardinal Daniel DiNardo. The delegation began their visit with a mass at the Basilica of Our Lady of San Juan del Valle National Shrine near McAllen. The bishops are in the area near the border to visit and talk with and to be present to migrants and those affected by immigration. The bishops also visited the Respite Center run by Catholic Charities in downtown McAllen. The center is a first stop for immigrants fortunate enough to have a place to go after being released by immigration authorities. William Canny, Executive Director of Migration and Refugee Services for the U.S. Bishops Conference, who also accompanied the bishops on their visit, said this is the act of welcoming that we all like to see, especially knowing about the difficult journey they have just made. He said this is the moment when our human values come forward. He said few will forget that warm welcome, the cheers, the applause, the food and smiles, and the bishops who happened to be there that day to feed them and to ask them how they are doing. News now from around the world. A young paralyzed woman who began an order that performs a unique ministry of healthcare, advocacy, and friendship for the sick, poor, and disadvantaged could be Australia's next saint. Rome Reports has more on this amazing woman's life.
Australia could soon be adding a second saint from their country, Eileen O'Connor. She's known for co-founding Our Lady's Nurses of the Poor in 1913, an order that still exists today. The Auxiliary Bishop of Sydney is helping investigate and assess if Eileen's cause should proceed and what merits her sainthood.
And what makes her particularly interesting and attractive in the faith is the fact that she received the love of God into her heart and she multiplied that love and then gave it to others. One of her heroic virtues is this amazing capacity to love.
She was a very small woman since she broke her spine at age 3, leaving her paralyzed. Despite this, she proved her love for others by helping the poor, sick, and the dying right in their own homes, which was the mission of her religious order.
In the early 20th century here in Sydney, Eileen O'Connor identified a real need for working with the poor and the sick, and particularly those who were housebound or couldn't afford medical treatment. And through prayer and the assistance of one of the local priests, she founded a group of religious sisters to be able to go out into the homes of people, poor people who couldn't afford hospital treatment or medical treatment. It was revolutionary at the time.
While she didn't have a high-level education, through prayer, obedience to God, and her desire to be close to the Blessed Mother, she was able to bring God to others.
While there is a Rome-based postulator working for the cause of her beatification and later canonization, no concrete steps have been taken as of yet. The Church is waiting for a miracle with her intercession, and then the cause will continue. And finally in the news, Archbishop Christophe Pierre, apostolic nuncio to the United States, announced June 30th that Pope Francis had accepted the resignation of Auxiliary Bishop John Dooher of Boston, who is 75 years old, the age at which canon law requires bishops to turn in a resignation. Bishop Dooher, who has been Vicar General and Regional Bishop for the Archdiocese South Region, was named an auxiliary for Boston by Pope Benedict XVI in 2006. The bishop grew up in the Dorchester section of Boston and eventually attended St. John's Seminary and ordained to the priesthood May 21st, 1969. As a priest, Bishop Dooher had assignments in Weymouth, South Boston, and Dedham, Massachusetts, and for a time served as the director of the Office of Spiritual Development. Well, that is all the information we have for you this time. Don't forget, I'm Kevin Nelson, and we have plenty more Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV Network.